problem. Thank you for being you and having.
What's good, party people? This is According to Woods, and I have the honor and privilege, and somebody would even say, some people would even say he's a distasteful type of sort in some circles, but I don't think so, because he is the one and only Avil Graves is gracing the According to Woods podcast. Can you feel the power?
Well, thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Mr. Woods. Mr. Woods, can I just say thank you again for having me on the show? I know that was kind of last minute. And to our fans and viewers out there, I have no actual information on the questions that Mr. Woods will be asking prior to this live event right here. So it's a shoot.
Bing, bang, bang, in the words of Mick Foley. But, I mean, when I get a message saying Avil Graves wants to be on the According to Woods podcast, this is something I literally move heaven and earth for. And especially, like, everything is so divided. It's either heaven and earth. There's no middle ground right now in kind of the...
We're here right now on middle ground, sir.
Yes, absolutely. We're kind of in between. I mean, it's like in between like a post-Dio... I mean, what is it? Post-Black Sabbath, Dio, heaven and hell.
Interesting theory. So upon that note, then, in your professional music opinion, is Black Sabbath Christian metal?
Theoretically speaking, I mean, with all the crosses that Ozzy adorns his house with, I mean, one would even say.
I asked that question to everybody.
What answers have you gotten, good sir?
All things debatable. Usually yes, everyone agrees with that. But again, that's just because the same thing. I mean, think about the lyrics and listen to what they say. I find it to be Christian metal. That means it's gospel. So I like gospel metal. Yeah, see how that goes?
Yes. You know? That's great. Well, when you think about it, right, you're not wrong at all, because I mean, Creed, which was theoretically a Christian band, and all the stuff that Scott Stapp got into, I'm just saying, you can make a point.
If you're singing about God and the devil, you've got to be a Christian, right? Loosely translated, anyway. You know. Hell, who knows? I don't know. Is that how we're gonna? You know what? Free plug to Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, God bless him. He's old. I heard he's not singing his own songs anymore, but he still looks good on TV. Maybe I'll be there one day.
Whoa. Wait. We've got some breaking news. Did you say that you heard that the great Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, does not sing his own tracks nowadays?
Much like a Democrat, I misspoke the truth. He's singing his own tracks just live. I've heard live. They're playing the tracks as opposed to him in the microphone. You know how that goes. And it's sad because the man is a legend. He created, like we said, Christian metal. Nobody else did. He did. And much like some people, it's just, you know, Grandpa, can we go home now? I love you. I don't want to see you like that.
Okay, so here's a good kind of I guess an introspective look, right? So we've got Ozzy, right? But obviously we unfortunately we lost earlier. I mean, like literally a month ago, Eddie Van Halen, right? That sucked, right? So David Lee Roth, along with John Five, right, and the great John Five, they basically had a interlude and a homage to the great Eddie Van Halen called over the Rainbow Bar and Grill. And David Lee Roth, at damn 70 years of age, holy fucking shit. Now, obviously, it could be auto-tuned and whatever, but his vocals, like, you close your eyes and you're like, oh shit, we're in the I Ain't Got No Body fucking David Lee Roth. We're in the Diamond Dave phase. And I'm just like, and then, I mean, the freakiest of the freak shows, right? I mean, you want to talk about like gospel metal and everything like that. You had, I mean, obviously he's dearly departed, but why am I blanking on his name? But across 110th Street. Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Fuck. And it'll come to me.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
Yeah,
Woods.
Shit.
Woods,
Bobby
take
Womack.
Bobby
Womack.
Bobby Womack.
Womack. Yes. Bobby Womack into his like 70s was fucking crazy as all shit. And then also I think is maybe the lighter version of Bobby Womack. I mean, just in terms of facials, was one Glenn Hughes of Deep Purple. The fact that Glenn Hughes, especially in Black Country Communion, could fucking sing those fucking notes while playing bass. I can't do either one thing. I can't play bass nor sing, and he can do both at fucking 70 years old. I feel like all men were not created equal.
I have said that before, and it's a sad statement. But when it comes musically, what passes for music modernly and in the past, things change, times change. Not to crap on anything, but what do you think their secret is? How do you think they've become still capable at their age? Is it all that clean living?
I'm gonna say bathing in virgin blood. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Very clean, very clean. God, where did this show go? Ah,
And we're only at 5 minutes, folks. But yes,
we've got more time to fill. I love it.
Hell yes. But Avil, I mean,
Yes, sir.
the wild world of pro wrestling, right? How did you get involved? I mean, obviously, what were the things that you were watching? I know for me, pro wrestling, anything combat sports, right?
Mhm.
It begins and ends with Bret Hart, Randy Savage, Saturday Night's Main Event, 1987. I want to say August, right? And that was the first thing that I saw anything contested in a ring or later a cage, right? So, with that being said, what were the things that you were kind of influenced by to take on the wild world of pro wrestling?
Well, that's a very interesting concept. As far as a single match or anything, I mean, what does one remember as from being a child, their first experience of wrestling? It was always on in the background at a friend's house. Their father was watching, and you'd sit there and catch a few minutes of it. And of course, wow, this is great, like a boxing match or anything else like that. But for me, I think fighting, martial arts, I was into martial arts well before I even really knew about television and pro wrestling. Of course, I knew about television. Forgive me, I misspoke. But I used to drive by with my mother at a young age when visiting my grandmother's house, and the martial arts school, a town away from me, the door was open. And so every time, on the summer times, in winter time, of course, the door was closed, but the door was open, and my mother stopped in one time when I wasn't there. Now, having said that, my father started me with the martial arts in the kitchen at a young age, about 6, 7 years old. And then I was formally trained in that school that I just mentioned by the age of 10. And I've been doing martial arts, Kempo and Chinese Kung Fu, which is they're the same thing as far as what, now I could be I could say Chinaman here in this broadcast and people are going to hate me, but whatever. As far as Kung Fu, we all know is Chinese, and what is Kung Fu? But more like a unit of measure and time well spent mastering anything. So Kempo is the style of martial art that I have always worked with, both from Chinese and American, and most recently, American Spaniard professor. He's currently residing in Honolulu, Hawaii. So he's got a wealth of information, and he's an older man, like we had mentioned, these godfathers of rock and metal. Well, he's one of the OGs of Hawaiian Kempo, if you will, Japanese Kempo. So Kempo is Kempo in any language, in any spelling, it's fist law or way of the fist. Sometimes it could be a peaceful fist, depending on the family influence. But ultimately, it's boxing, it's dirty boxing, it's kickboxing, it's grappling, jutsu techniques, or Chinese push-pull shui jiao. I'm touching all bases because I don't want to give a history lesson of how martial arts came to be, but ultimately spend enough time with everyone you meet, cross-train, and you've got Kempo.
No, 100%. And, I love that you mentioned that. And especially, the interlude to Hawaiian Kempo, because in the mixed martial arts realm, look no further than John Hackleman and Chuck Liddell as two of the biggest proponents of Hawaiian Kempo, much like Josh Barnett is with catch wrestling. And again, people that train in martial arts, whether it be MMA or the traditional martial arts, I think whether it be Hawaiian Kempo or even British catch wrestling, a lot of things get lost in the ether, right? And I often wonder, especially with the effectiveness, right? I mean, right now, I just love the fact that we have in the WWE a direct lineage to Carl Gotch and Billy Robinson, and it's a female, and we have Josh Barnett to think about. I mean, to thank for it.
I think the importance of lineage in anything, but we're talking sports and we're talking specifically fight sports. So whether it be wrestling or MMA, the idea that MMA should have been called pro wrestling a long time ago, and you know what I mean? Absolutely. It's all relative. An exhibition is an exhibition. Full throttle is getting punched in the face with no resolve. A knockout's a knockout and a choke is a choke. Now, whether it's a put-up job or whether it's a legit shoot fight, the point is it happens in all spectrums of the market, if you will. And the important thing, like you said, lineage. I believe that having a good, strong tie to any legacy is important. Of course, I don't have one. I have no strong ties to a legacy whatsoever. If anything, maybe God willing, my children will grow up and become fighters or martial arts instructors or wrestlers, or maybe just whatever they want. They don't have to propagate it. I'm doing my own little legacy. Thank you very much. And you know what? I don't feel like it's anything at all. I'm just having a great deal of fun, you see. So,
and that's it. You know, just like you were saying, the art of the fist of things, or whatever you apply that to, whether it be a pen or a paper, whether it be punching somebody's skulls, you know, or putting somebody in a grovet, right? It's all relative, right? And I think it's an art, even still.
Well, the moves. What do you call whether you call it, what's the, I don't want to use a cliche and a term.
The Kimura versus the
whether you call it a head and arm lock, or you call it something in Chinese, or you call it something in French, or you call it something. How, and you had said it, how do you execute it? How do you apply it? So technique wise, you can master a technique or a handful of techniques you yourself could be good at. And that makes you far above and more prepared, ready to apply that to somebody if given the chance. Now, I'm not saying that someone's going to let you do that. Of course not in a fight sport. As it is, I personally, in pro wrestling, don't like people getting their hands on me. Now, when I get into that ring, or if you got in that ring, you have to be prepared. So you better have a background. You better have some idea of how to defend yourself legit. You piss somebody off, you say the wrong thing, and we see it in MMA all the time. Quick knockouts, quick chokes. Well, it's no different, especially when, you know, all we have sometimes is a stipend of a payday. So we better go ahead and get ours before someone tries to take it from us now. Because just like that, the moment you lose, the moment in the people's eyes you're no longer worth anything, how can you stay relevant? How can you continue? And we get older, and the bodies break, and the mind wearies. Sometimes we don't always have it in us. Having said that, you mentioned Chuck Liddell, and I love Uncle Chuck. Never met him personally, but yes, as far as a Hawaiian Kempo, he's got that lineage. And, you know, you have good days and you have bad. And sometimes I myself choose to stay in bed.
Well, I love it.
So that I can rest and recoup and be ready for the next one, because it's, again, you got to be on your best form.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, you know, and I very much considered not just, you know, wrestling, amateur, Greco-Roman, what have you, freestyle, but also professional wrestling. Because when Frank Gotch and George Hackenschmidt were literally, I mean, selling out houses, you know, by the thousands, right? They, theoretically speaking, in 2020 terms, they were doing MMA, right? Or yes, maybe like a high caliber, like a Eddie Bravo Invitational style, or fight to win style, right?
They were putting themselves out there, and yes, yeah, what you said, the fights or the style wins the fight, or fights win style, yeah. Mm-hmm. Whichever style was prudent, and like wrong word. Whichever style was more impactful at the time, that got people to really pay attention to these events anyway. Of course, naturally, that's what everybody thought was the most masterful art. In the 60s and 70s, it was all kickboxing. As we get into the 80s and 90s, it was a little bit more traditional style martial arts. Then all of a sudden, 90s, we get full-blown Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Everyone thinks it's the BJJ. Currently now, still BJJ, which, let's face it, when there's no striking involved and it's grabbing and grappling, because you can grab somebody and still hit. That's more of a judo aspect of thinking. But times change, and the styles that are more important to the people, they wind up, they're always there. Everyone knows that there's a whole bunch of different things, but to the masses, they only know what is elevated at the time and on television and utilized. And I could get into a whole bunch of other things as to how and why, but that's just the way things go, you know?
No, I agree wholeheartedly. But look no further than Judo Gene LaBelle, who right? I mean, and when you talk about lineage that is both mixed martial arts lineage, I mean, and pro wrestling lineage. I mean, his mom Eileen Eaton ran the LA territory out of the Grand Olympic Auditorium here in LA. That saw the proliferation of a superstar Billy Graham, of a Chavo Guerrero Sr., of a young Roddy Piper. I mean, that promo where he's like, "I'm gonna sing play the Mexican national anthem on the bagpipes," and then in the middle of the Grand Olympic Auditorium, he starts playing on the bagpipes. Oh, La Cucaracha, and I mean, talk about heat! Holy hell! Like it's fucking.
Roddy was nothing but heat. He was a heat-seeking missile.
But oh my gosh, I mean, a lovely human being. Like, I mean, obviously,
you met him.
Yes, absolutely. And there's actually a replica that is in the According to Wood studio of the 10 pounds of gold, the NWA World Title.
So you're the title holder.
Oh no! Hey, I would think
you beat Nick Aldis for that.
I'm not gonna say it, but what I did get is Roddy Piper to sign this here belt.
And that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
And there's hardly, I mean, this is probably the most eclectic piece of NWA memorabilia because, I mean, right here I'm looking at the great, and I'm a huge mark for him, the king of all sports, Harley Race.
I was just about to say, it's too bad Harley Race didn't sign that belt. You read my mind, sir.
There he is. There he is.
That's
in sports, right there.
Well, then I read your mind.
Yes, but I mean, we've got Terry Funk, we've got, let's see, superstar Billy Graham, we've got the franchise Shane Douglas, and even Raven. So talk about an eclectic mix of NWA champions and even a WWF champion in superstar Billy Graham, but they're all here.
It's quite the belt you've got there. It's quite the belt.
It's a thing. I mean, and
so here's a question for you. As a friend, as a fan, do you? What was I listening? I think I was listening to Jim Cornette earlier. I think we all do.
Yes,
and,
we do.
Somebody asked him a question about fans and wrestling belts. As a fan, I've never. As a fan, do you bring that belt to shows to have it signed, or do you bring that belt to shows just to wear it?
So, I've never worn it. Now, pre-getting these, so it was something evolution. Now, for me, I look at the 10 pounds of gold. I mean, so two of my favorite belt designs in terms of pro wrestling, right? Actually, I would even go three. I would go in no particular order. We've got the 10 pounds of gold, the AWA inmate title that Vern Gagne and Nick Bockwinkel had, and for my money, everybody wants to call Ric Flair one of the greatest of all time, and I'm not doubting that. But for that gimmick and having the cunning, I think Nick Bockwinkel was a lot bigger deal. That's my take. And then that third,
I think a lot of people could agree with that. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
I get shit all the time. Shit all the time, and I was like, you just didn't watch AWA. And again, like,
exactly.
It's funny. This morning I woke up to a debate. This is like 3/4.
Was it a mass debate?
A mass debate. But this one was actually something that you and I can appreciate it. But it was a fighter from Bellator, a fighter from the UFC, and a fighter probably from ONE. And there was a 50 greatest wrestler of all time list that they posted, and they had problems with it. Now, again, the names yeah, I mean, we're talking about
50's a lot of people to go ahead and argue spots and everything else. I mean, it's almost just controversy right there.
It is. And okay, and it happens a lot of times in MMA, right? Or especially with Khabib, John Jones, Anderson Silva, the greatest of all time kind of argument, right? And
right. I mean, I would say bring it down a weight class and maybe just go 5 or 10 and just say in the past 10 or 20 years. Break it down into decades where you're not going to have Muhammad Ali take on somebody now. He's past, of course. Or you're not going to have Bruce Lee take on. So, like, the hypothetical fight, that's it. That's it. Woods, you've just sold me on the idea.
Yeah.
Avil Graves is going to become a time traveler, and I'm going to go back in time to take on Frank Gotch and Jack Dempsey and Bruce Lee. And again, come on, throw them out. Attila the Hun. I'll go on forever.
Attila the Hun. I mean, Billy
I will
Robinson.
defend my title against any and all comers, past, present, future, living or dead, animal, mineral, or vegetable. Vegetable because they put up less struggle. I mean, paraplegic.
Oh, when you are you talking about the dying days of Vern Gagne? Oh, did we go there?
I'll take on Vern Gagne. Find me a voodoo priestess, raise his body from the dead. Let him train for 6 months because I'm sure he's stiff. All right. And forgive me to all Vern Gagne's surviving members of family. I do apologize. And boss, if I'm still employed after this.
Well, Greg is, selling, Greg Gagne is obviously selling Land Rovers in the Minneapolis area in an affluent part, whatever. So I think it's the right price. I mean, not to quote $1 Million Man, but like everybody's got a price. I think you'll allow it. I mean, even Vern, who long since hated Vince McMahon, went into the Hall of Fame and sold the catalog to him. So I'm just, anything can happen.
Money talks, including raising the dead, apparently.
Dude, I'm half Fijian. I've probably got an aunt that I might send your way. I'm just saying, dude. Oh, that's a Fijian parable, right? Like if you're a young man full of vigor, right, and you go to a club and the girl seems a little bit out of your league, they say to always check her feet because there's a chance that she could be floating because the living and the dead are kind of, I'm just saying, intermingled.
I agree, especially in this election year, huh? Yes, sir, I went there.
No, but it is. I mean, okay.
Sorry, your podcast is going to get flagged off of that one comment. Having nothing to do with raising the dead.
Because here's the thing. We're kind of talking off air. Like the way that I found out it's the current president now, right? I went to work when I had a regular job, right? I went to work, got a headache, whatever, came home, but I was like on my way. I'm going to go ahead and vote and do that deal, right? And then everybody was still
good for you,
right? And then I went to sleep because I had a brain splitting headache, right? And then I went to sleep, woke up, and I was like, you know what? I think it was like a early Tuesday morning, right? So Monday Night Raw had just went off the air hours before, and it's 3:00 Pacific Standard Time. I'm like, what happened on Raw? So I go, just like I have done since high school, on Raja.com, bootleg Dave Meltzer's Observer, and it says the headline, WWE Hall of Famer, now President of the United States. And I was just like, it didn't click. I was like, oh, Jesse Ventura fucking made a run-in, didn't he?
Right?
It was like, that's what happened, right?
I was hoping he would this year. I was really hoping that we would get the save from old fucking Ventura himself, man. Could you imagine coming in at the last spot? Tag me in, Trump. Tag me in. All votes change. It's too bad. That last write-ins could have taken it over if he had just. You think he got paid to stay out? You think it was like a billionaire Ted Turner situation where he got paid more to stay home?
No. Hey, there you go. I might have a Gary Michael Capetta in my friends list. So I gotta ask. I gotta ask. But anyway, I was hoping, right, that we got some sort of like Ventura Rogan ticket. Like that would be something that I would be. You talk about free speech. You talk like those two dudes. I think could have gotten done. But
like
that was
the
just
sound of it. Other than that, of course, myself. I will run for any American office, from dog warden to president. I guarantee you, I can clean up some shit.
Yeah, that is something that, as an independent wrestler, you definitely know how to do. I'm just saying, right?
I'll manage all beasts, depending in between both jobs. You know.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, we're talking in a time where, I mean, just a stone's throw away for me, about 45 minutes to 4 hours because it's LA traffic. Tito Ortiz won a council person seat in Huntington Beach. The Huntington Beach
That's
bad boy
awesome.
is no longer a bad boy because he is a councilman in Huntington Beach.
That's awesome. I had no idea. That's really good. And you know, that's how it goes. I mean, look at Glenn Jacobs. Glenn Jacobs is mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee. Yes, Kane, as we know him. And let's see, who else? The Beastmaster Rick Link from the 70s and 80s. He held a mayor's office. I don't remember exactly which one, but he was a councilman, or he had a seat somewhere in politics.
Yeah, and then even if we float over to Japan, obviously, I mean, you got to talk about the great Sasuke, right? The great Sasuke was the first member of the Japanese Diet, which is, I mean, theoretically speaking, in all intents and purposes, the Japanese kind of not, it's an apples to oranges comparison, but kind of like the Senate and Congress here in the States, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, Parliament is Parliament. I think any nation. You know, you call it's a group of people getting together, deciding laws and making their stink about things, right? You know, putting their own personal all over it and deciding what's good for the people. So
we're getting into George Clinton right now because you said group of people, Parliament, fucking right? Is that what we're doing?
Funk. Gotta have that funk. How we don't get me singing. Da 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 da.
I'd say bring it on, brother. I'm just
no,
saying.
For real. If you got some P-Funk in the back, we should listen. You know, this podcast can go in an entirely different direction right now. I have friends and family and kids and all sorts of people that probably would listen to this and go, not my kind of podcast, Yeti. But let me tell you right now, Mr. Woods, if you want to listen to Parliament Funkadelic and do your thing down there in Southern California, I'd be all about it. I think I have to stay a little bit on the cleaner side of things.
The cleaner side of funk?
There is a clean side of funk. There's a clean side to funk.
Wait, what would that be?
Gospel?
I was gonna say like Ambrosia, right?
Ambrosia?
Ambrosia was a band, right?
Ambrosia.
Clean side of funk.
Oh, I'm thinking of Boney M.
Boney M.
70s kind of Twilight funk disco.
Okay.
Look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going far off the tracks here. Going far.
We're going. I mean, wait. I mean, are we what? Like, what is it? Matt Capitelli? Are we back at Tough Enough 1? You know, because you remember Tough Enough.
I remember from Tough Enough 1. What? No. I'm thinking of the UFC series.
The Ultimate Fighter, right? Well, you said off the tracks, right? For people that know WWF Tough Enough, the first season, they trained at a facility in Sanford, Connecticut called Trax, Trax.
Wow, you are so deep inside. I had no idea. That No, I'm from Connecticut. Everything we've ever done in Connecticut, Stamford knew right about. I'm sure of it. And this was going back to 99 to 2006, roughly. But certainly between 99 and 2002, where all of the Stamford company was buying up all the other companies that were being sold at the time. So talent was being exchanged and freelanced like gangbusters, and they blew up pretty well. So as far as me, I don't remember what Stamford's product was. I remember Tough Enough, and I remember at the time I was already training. Yes, I was already training because I specifically remember my good friend Balls Mahoney doing a commercial for Assault Championship Wrestling, Jason Knight's organization. If you remember Jason Knight from ECW, he had a school where I was training at as a younger man. And Balls Mahoney cut a promo now. It's all coming back to me. Like Celine Dion, that if you wanted to be a real professional wrestler, if you want, and I'm paraphrasing now, if you wanted to train, live, eat, breathe, sleep, shit, piss, and fuck pro wrestling, you come to Jason Knight's House of Hardcore Pro Wrestling Dojo. And the last thing he said at the end of the commercial or you can go on Tough Enough and be a fag. Now, I didn't say it. I'm just reiterating this for your podcast. Now, having said that, I think we've crossed all of the big words that we shouldn't say out in the internet, where I think we've said most of the big things already. So I think we're good at this point, But God rest your soul, Balls Mahoney, my good friend, and he was loved by many. But talk about another legacy, in the business. He was just having fun. He loved what he did,
Yeah, that's I mean, him and Axel Rotten. I mean, that's kind of like my. I grew up here in LA, and we kind of got a cool deal, right? I mean, obviously, nothing close to what you guys actually had in the Eastern Seaboard, where you could actually patron
Kind of
ECW.
fortunate.
Yeah,
I mean, as far as where the action was, and you got to remember, I mean, where you come from, LA, who doesn't know LA? Even when the lights are out and it's nighttime, you've got a bustling nightlife, and there's lots of lights and electricity being pumped into that area of the globe. Well, the Northeast New York, city and the surrounding areas, Connecticut, Jersey, that's all relative. Hong Kong, I mean, there's places that are going to be more well suited for business and enterprise. And nobody's really, you don't choose where you're born. You just luck out. I mean, the things that you have down in LA, I didn't grow up with, and I don't have that. I think it's pretty cool that you were telling me stories about Ronda Rousey being, her training facility right up the road from you. That's cool. You lucked out in that aspect.
yeah, but it's
All men are created equal.
Yeah. This is great. And I mean, okay, so basically, so we had a 3-hour block, right, on Saturday, early Sunday morning and it's funny now because a kind of iteration of the same TV station actually has Wrestling Now, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood with Dave Marquez and everything like that. But we had a 3-hour block where we had UPW, right? That's Rick Brassman's, professional wrestling outfit. And we saw some notables like, the Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, Ryan Sakota, Samoa Joe in like literally like bell bottoms, like a cheetah print bell bottoms and like fried, almost like your colored hair. Like that was the Samoa Joe.
Gay? I'm getting older these days.
Hey, there you go. I mean, I'm just saying it fits, and you look. Your hair color is almost exactly the same as Samoa Joe's circa 2001.
Yeah, old.
Right?
We're both getting old. I remember when Samoa Joe started. I think I was starting my training a year or two around the same. But that's the funny part is I remember Ring of Honor just getting started.
Yes,
I remember when they were looking for talent. And look at them now. The what do you want to call it? The love of good business, the art of doing business, the art of loving your work. Maynard James Keenan said that, lead singer from Tool, the art of work. That's a philosophy right then and there. But as far as the hair color of me and Samoa Joe, we're old. That's old man color hair. Hi, Joe.
Well, the legacies that you did, and then again, like I said, so that was UPW. Oh, and the young John. Oh well, he wasn't John Cena yet, but he was the prototype. Yes. So that was an hour of TV, right? And then we had sprinkling in when they did like the Galaxy Theater shows in Santa Ana. Then like Edge and Christian would come. Undertaker did a spot there, but then and then the next hour was XPW, right? The ECW kind of, the alternative.
XPW. Right? Was that Rob Black?
Yes, it was. Yeah. Oh, dude.
Let's put up the big cross right there. Yeah. If I had a cross, I feel the need to back Evil Man, back. Yeah, Rob Black.
No, he's
don't know personally, but I know of him. I think we all do.
Oh, funny enough, I'm actually right after this. I'm going to get into a deep dive in conversation about actually stock trading with XPW commentator Chris Kloss. So
I'm going to pay attention to that one if that's going on. Oh man, I'm all about it. I want to hear that.
Yeah. Oh no, the Chris Kloss, and he's actually doing on the Wrestling Chatter YouTube channel. He's actually going and talking about Extreme Memories. That is a show that He's interviewed Luke Hawks, the Messiah, all of the notables that are still alive. Kevin Kleinrock, OG Kevin Kleinrock. They're all there, interviewed by Chris Kloss on the Wrestling Chatter channel. So check that out. And you might even see this face with George Hermosa, who is the major domo of the Wrestling Chatter channel. And this face, along with George Hermosa, we basically did a year retrospect of her and Trish with Lisa Marie Varon, better known as Victoria, better known as Tara in TNA. So there's that.
You have got a wealth of information. All the things I think I should know all those people and that one person with 3 names, but really, you're much better than I. You've got it locked down. I think that's the only difference is yes, I'm a fan of pro wrestling. And yes, I'm a fan of fight sports. But I have a memory that of a goldfish. I'll remember this conversation in your face, of course. What we talked about, vaguely, loosely translated. I'll have to go back and watch the tapes. But no, good for you. There's nothing worse than forgetting somebody's name when they love you so much and they come up and go out of their way and say, yeah. But if you remember their face, I just find myself fortunate that I've got a photographic memory that way.
See, well, I mean, it works. I think, what is it? Mary Lou Retton? Is that the one from Taxi? The redhead from Taxi.
Yeah.
It's Mary Lou something.
We're good.
Yes.
Danny DeVito. It wasn't him, was it?
No. But it was the female in Taxi. She basically, I mean, there's like a good CBS deal about her having a photographic memory. Like she could look at something like that and can recall it. It didn't matter.
Perhaps a bit of an idiot savant.
Dude, I'm more idiot than savant, but I was trained for a little bit by Savant Young of IFL fame and Fight Academy Pasadena and Herb Dean. So maybe
the degrees of separation do exist. There's connection.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm just saying.
You know,
but, you were talking about your training, right? And learning.
I didn't mean to. Sorry.
No, you're good. Oh, and Dallas Danger says, I don't think we've said the C word yet. Well, there's that.
I'll work it in for you, Dallas. Anything for a fan.
That's good. But here's the funny thing. So I am part Fijian. My mom is from Fiji, right? So things that are like that dreaded C word here in the States, that is a term of endearment and affection in the British Commonwealth.
Yes, it is.
Yes, absolutely. As to when there was some time of my youth that I spent in Fiji and grew up with my mom in her vernacular, right? So I was just like, I said things the way my mom would say it. Like, when I saw kids in the play yard looking or smoking, right? The 5th graders smoking. And I told teacher, hey, there's kids smoking and again, you got to think about.
I had said that word earlier.
Yes, there you go. Right. And
that's how I meant it.
And mind you, this is San Francisco school. So didn't float well. I got marched into the principal's office, and then the same scenario, but then like a cat running across, and I go, teacher, hey, there's a wild, again, the British euphemism.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you not say it? Am I allowed to say it?
I don't know. You can say it. Fuck yeah.
Ring rat? A wild ring rat running across the street?
No, I would say
ring rat. No. Are we talking about
to a woman's genitals?
Oh, sir, yes, how dare you, sir? You have offended my honor and vernacular in my speech, sir. Pussy willow. Just add willow to the end. We're internet clean. We're fine.
There you go. So yeah, that was the kind of
we're ridiculous. We're absolutely absurd.
Yeah, we are. But I mean, if some people call him Deer Dick, I think that's the correct pronunciation. But I grew up probably less cultured, and I just called him Rob Drydick of Fantasy Factory and Ridiculousness.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, the right emphasis on a different syllable, is all relative. You call me Avil, I call it Avil. You say tomato, and I say, is there an E at the end of that? I don't know.
Hey, because it's a toe. I get it.
But it's relative. Well, like, forgive me. Like all techniques wrestling holds, and a move is called a certain thing. It's all relative. As far as words are concerned, I've never been terribly too concerned with words. Personally, I was very much into the shock value of the idea that someone would be so, how did they say, why would they say that? What was the big fucking deal? They just said it. Now, having said that, I don't like to cuss in my personal time. I'd much rather not have to swear, because swearing begets getting angry, and anger is definitely a thing that you save for when it's appropriate, and it's never appropriate around friends, family, and not even while fighting in the ring. You want to stay calm, you want to stay cool, level-headed, but every now and then chicanery exists with friends, and you blow off some steam, and dropping expletive deleteds can sometimes build camaraderie in your local groups. People, the men are the men, the women are the women, and they just don't give a fuck who they think, and that builds camaraderie. Like you and I right now, we're learning a lot about each other in the manner of speak of what we in the manners of which we speak, and words. I think George Carlin said it best. It's not the words themselves; it's the idiot intention of using them. And again, I'm paraphrasing. It's the intention of the person using them that makes it a dangerous or volatile situation, or could far exceed. But when you instantly hear a word, or even worse, you hear a tone, and you make it about you, or you make it about your personal identity about anything, like, it's going too far, I think. Feelings and emotions being what they are, why must cling to anything that causes more problems than causes solutions? And so I find that even in conversation, when we're just speaking eloquently enough, trying anyway, there's still a time to bring it down to the bargain basement deal of all reality and say what you want, how you want, provided that it's not truly intention upon hurting somebody else. That's just life. Life's a work, wrestling's a shoot. All things considered, you kind of mix it all up, and you have more than you are now. And I think people should just lighten up a little bit and live out loud, but to a lesser detriment of actually hurting people or actually trying to take something away from each other. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, no, it's weird, right? Because we have, for whatever reason, lost the ability to civilly disagree. That is something in generations prior to us, and again, we are supposed to be that much more evolved because the technological advancements or the social advancements and whatever. But again, when there's innovation that happens, something's yet left, in the doldrums, right? I mean, when you get instructions from IKEA, right? There's going to be a shit ton of like a pile of like, oh, I fucking didn't need that, but also your furniture leans like that. Like,
well, those extra parts are purely just if you want to use them or not, like a model, the same thing. How come I have extra parts? Well, that's underneath. You don't need to see that. We'll just put it down, but yeah, the things have changed. Well, how many phone numbers do you remember if you were a kid? You remember programming phone numbers into your head. Now you program phone numbers here. So there's one part of our brain that we're not using. We free up that space for something else. We used to have a conversation on the phone or look someone in the eye and extend a handshake. Now you type an email, or even worse, you type an email. So there's an awful lot of context lost, tone lost in texting back and forth. I personally myself, I'm not a technophobe, but I was born before the internet and I learned how to live without it. And so, like, we're right on that cusp of, well, I guess I'm kind of like a boomer, or is that what they call us? Call them? Whatever. I don't know. I don't pay attention because honestly, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
I don't care about labeling things with terminology that is already been labeled and already understood. As it is now, it's misunderstood because of the nature of our beast, of what we're talking about. Every generation thinks that they're the first ones to come up and think of anything first. And then they're really just parroting. They see it and they're regurgitating it back out in their own way. But God forbid you tell them that this is how it used to be and that they're doing the same thing. They'll argue to that point because it's their original thought. Not too much left over. Having said that, I'm not necessarily sounding like that old man who's crapping on the new generation, but we're talking about technology and its misuse. And some of its things, having a conversation across the world is wonderful. Taking pictures of your food and sharing it with people, because I'm sorry, I just respectfully say you're wasting your time. But okay, enjoy that. Take pictures of your food for posterity. You never know when you might need to go back and figure out what you ate 10 years ago. Maybe it's a dietary thing. You're learning from it. I don't know, but I think I'm too old already, and it's not right.
I don't know. Anytime I see a tattooed face rapper, I'm like, I'm fucking old. Like I just because I've maybe that's my decision making, right? I, as a 30-something-year-old male, living in America, part American descendant of slaves, part Fijian, right? Immigrant there, and I've never been in a situation where I felt confident enough that this shit might all fucking trickle down and I get fucked over and might have to take a job in a more affluent part of town as a bank teller, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like once you fucking scribble off like a fucking ice cream cone into your fucking eyebrow, you can no longer get that shit. I'm just I don't like
It's the same reason why I didn't get anything tattooed on my forehead, right? No, I mean, never would have thought of that as a beginning, but it's common nowadays, and I think a lot of that has. I'm going to say it like this, to be perfectly honest. I don't think people have any shame, nor on the same flip side of that coin, they don't have any pride either. Now, having said that, I have tattoos, and they're not hidden by any means. I actually work in a job where I get to show them off. But if I have to put on a white button-down collar, short-sleeve shirt, I can still go represent myself as a gentleman and a scoundrel, because how can I not listen to me speak? So the idea that there's still some sense of responsibility as an individual, I find to be a very important thing in today's society, because we see it so prevalently either falling apart or being built up in a new aspect. No, I'm not one of those doom and gloomers. I understand that some things need to be torn down before you can rebuild them back up. And there's ways to go about doing things honestly. And sometimes people honestly are upset and angry. So you've got to remember that in a world of individuals that all still want to have, we'll call it peace and harmony in our own individual lives, or at least recognize it when we see it, hopefully. I think it could happen. Of course it could happen. But is it going to take a whole bunch of people with radical agendas on all walks of life? And I'm not talking Americans. I'm talking about every person on the planet. They have their own agenda. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody has their own agenda. You have an agenda. Your agenda right now is to run this podcast. My agenda is to try and take it over. So, what's good for so many people, it's not always good for the individual in the moment, but these emotions we talk about, and how we can how we can utilize current technology to still keep a civilized identity for America or politics or the professional wrestling business. And I'll segue just a little bit by saying, because everybody thinks they know better. Everybody thinks they know what is going on, whether it be politics, pro wrestling, or blah, 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 music industry, it doesn't matter. Newsflash, COVID. Nobody knows what the fuck is going on anymore. Is this going to open? Are we going to have, the fact that I even have sanctioned professional wrestling matches going on for myself right now, there must be some either extreme grab for money or power or business, because I'm fortunate again. You see, I'm fortunate to have work. The legitimate of this whole process is we're all fortunate to be doing anything at all. Mm-hmm. So at that point, since everybody knows the internet and everybody thinks they know what's going on in these businesses and these entities and these politics and everything, well then, honesty is your best policy. But the internet and people will go ahead and lie, and people will tell their side of a story as opposed to the whole truth. Use technology for what it's worth. Let's all be entertained. Let's all tell the truth. Let's all have free energy. Yeah. Let's all give back. Nobody gets here. Everybody gets here by accident now, don't they? If they get anywhere at all,
That's it. Yeah. I mean, look no further than Joe Rogan. He will tell you his path to $100 million was absolutely fucking by accident, and he makes no bones about it. And the fact that
Hard
anybody can do it,
worker, right
hard
place,
work,
right
yeah.
time. Maybe blessed with genetics and a silver tongue, but I'm sure, was still, like anything, nervous at times, and you have to yourself. You remember a time when you were younger and maybe you couldn't speak or didn't have a voice, and then that moment where you learned, holy shit, people want to hear what I have to say, and that's it. And then it's off into the races you go.
Yeah, no, it is, and Jesse Velasquez, who's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu and an IFS MMA champion here in Southern California, he said, "Yep, facts. Can't even leave the house without my phone." And there is good and bad for sure, though. Absolutely.
Well, absolutely. Yin and yang. Every martial artist knows yin and yang. The concept. You never know what you're going to get until you try. And I'm opinionated of it. Like I said before, I learned how to grow up without the internet, and then all of a sudden one day, no, I don't have a computer at home. I can't apply for a job. Wait, what? All right, let me go to the library. Oh, yeah. The things the kids don't have to do today. I remember having to get on a bicycle and go down to the library and take out a card and sit in a computer and pay 10 cents for a piece of paper to print something out. I mean, come on. If that doesn't sound like I'm 80 right now, this is ridiculous. You ever go on library card tour? How many library cards do you have, Woods? How many library cards do you have growing up?
I've got two, but it's a sense of nostalgia.
But you had two. You needed two.
Well, then actually it makes me like a damn Cro-Mag, because theoretically speaking, San Francisco, Fiji, Indiana, Las Vegas, New Mexico, Georgia, and Inglewood. Those are all of the places that I live. Oh, and then that's not even including Bakersfield, California, Pasadena, and then now Glendale. So I should have about like a dozen, and I have two. So I'm the shit.
No need for modern days. Who goes to libraries anymore?
Oh yeah, I actually because of the library subscription or membership, I actually get Vudu, VUDU, which is a streaming service, and all the documentaries that I like to fucking watch, they're on Vudu. So yes, I'm not going to the physical library, but I think I'm a garbage bag intellectual. To an extent.
Well, we all are. I mean, I've got useless facts and useless knowledge about a bunch of different things, and all of a sudden they come out and whatever. But I mean, we all know some things. Strangers know things. That's one thing that I learned many, many years ago, is that different people know lots of different things, and you can't discredit them or discount them or yourself in the matter, because if you give enough time to somebody to actually really communicate and learn them, we have an hour of learning and meeting somebody new. It was very exciting going into this. So thank you again. Using technology for the right reasons to create friends and bridge gaps between Southern California and Southwestern Virginia. Absolutely.
Fuck yeah, that's what we do, bro. That's exactly what we do. And Jesse Velasquez says exactly. Yeah.
Jesse, I'm going to reach out to you on Facebook and friend request you. Yes. I think I know how to do that now.
Yeah, we can kind of do that. I think so. I mean, at the very least, there's an app for that. Oh my goodness.
Oh, of course.
So definitely, I mean, I want to get into your wrestling career, right? So,
dear Lord, why?
Because it's fucking awesome. It's something that, okay, so here's the deal. Let me give you a scenario for a young Adam Woods, and Jesse Velasquez says down. Absolutely. So we're connecting people. Fucking friendships happen according to Woods. That's it. According to Woods means friendship, folks. It does. So hit that hit that subscribe button, the fucking bell, and the notification hoobaloo, and we'll have fun. I'm just saying. But
let's make it. Fuck being professional. Let's have fun.
Let's fucking have fun. Yeah, and just have a fucking open space where we all can fucking have fun. But one thing that you've been able
I should have put according to Woods right on this coffee cup to make it look like you brought it to me.
I mean, brought it like a motherfucker. And maybe I should start doing that. But hey, but I digress. But so obviously for me, I was just like, I'm half American descendant of slaves, half Polynesian. I mean, the same kind of genealogy run through none other than Dwayne Johnson, the fucking Rock, right? So I was just like, I've got aunts on both sides of my family that are like 6'2". I'm gonna be a fucking giant, and I'll go to Japan. I'll wrestle until my knees eventually blow out, and then I'll fucking settle
They
into.
will.
Yes, absolutely, right? And settle into some cushy commentary position somewhere, right? Now, obviously,
So you had it planned out too. Yeah, I did the same thing myself. I'd be like, I'll be semi-retired by 40, and I'll be able to just open up a school and start teaching. I had to open the school a lot earlier than I realized.
but I mean, like, okay, so how did it?
Sign of the times.
I mean, obviously, you saw the Balls Mahoney commercial, right? And shout out to Jason Knight, which fucking a.
Jason
That's
was my first real professional wrestling instructor. He not only did the leg work, he'd get in the ring with you, even at his older age. And I mean, he's older now, obviously. That's been 20 years ago. But he was well respected, well loved, and I can honestly say everyone's got that, first instructor. I've had many first instructors, but there was something about the pro wrestling world that added a bit of seasoning, if you will, to a killer instinct that was already available. And as a young person, you don't tell children they have a killer instinct for anything. Wait till they grow up and they can appreciate it. Don't let it go to their head too early so that they're a flash in the pan. You want to have them last long, have a career. You talk about my career. I never really believed my shit. If I was good at anything, it's because I worked hard. I trained hard. I would never say I've mastered anything, but I do it every day, and I've been doing it every day for 28 years. Yeah. And so you work at it. You work and become good. And if somebody recognizes that and they say you should do that, maybe you should listen to them and don't fight it. And so I just went into the martial arts and the wrestling world with a very positive attitude. I kept saying yes as opposed to saying no. And when opportunities arose, I grasped for them. I didn't kiss ass for it. I just gracefully accepted, humbly went on my day and wound up being as such. Of course, I'm a prick now, but that's just having the fun. That's just having fun, and so no, I never let it get to my head, which is why I think I was capable of being able to do things. I kept letting it. I wanted it to spiral out and go upward, not just stay here and say, okay, I did this. Now I'm done. No, there's more.
You're like,
there's more, Mr. Woods.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you almost feel like what is it, Ron Propel and the fucking infomercials of the 80s, but wait, there's more.
I used to watch those infomercials more than I watched entertainment television. I don't know what was wrong with me. I really like the art of the sell.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you get christened with you remember that gimmick where they it was literally a gimmick that you fucking put on a wet vac and it shaved your head.
The Floby.
Yes.
The Floby.
Yeah.
They used it on Wayne's World too, right?
Yes,
the suck cut. They called it the suck cut. Yeah, the Floby. I didn't care much for the Floby. I was a big fan of the kitchen instruments though. The Ronco pasta maker and the bread maker. Everybody had a slicer and a dicer and an automatic magic maker, whatever. But those infomercials, you're not going to pay $89.99. You're not going to pay $79.99. You're not even going to pay $69.99 like we may all be thinking. All you're going to do is pay 5 easy payments of $14.72. Now, how amazing is that, folks? How amazing is that? Of course, it's like $2 less than $69.99 plus tax anyway. But
plus shipping and handling.
I don't think my math was right. Somebody in the chat figure out whether I know how to do math or not. I don't think I do.
Apparently, we needed to learn applied mathematics from the great Scott Steiner, because apparently that Scott Steiner sacrifice promo, it all fucking checks out.
Does it?
Literally. Yeah, 100%. Somebody, I actually read about it yesterday. Like a mathematician actually fucking broke it down, and he was absolutely fucking right.
Wow.
Just saying. Huh. And that was what Petey Williams said, because he was there. He was there. He did it in one fucking take. That just fucking came from the ethosphere into Scott Steiner's brain and fucking out his mouth with the amount of brilliance that it did, and it lives in internet infamy as we speak.
Sometimes we all have our 15 minutes again. Scott Steiner, I mean, let's face it, he's got more than 15 minutes, at least 40 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, and I kind of marked out. There was like and I don't know if we can say it, but like bar wrestling, that was a thing here in Southern California. And
did you say bar wrestling?
Bar wrestling, yes.
Well, yeah, I mean that happens an awful lot. There's plenty of bars they don't even have a ring. Well, I'll even say in up New England, little shady dive bars that would host some drunken bare knuckle in the back between regular patrons, or if one of the regular patrons was there and somebody mouthed off, they would give them the wink and say, "Hey, you want to throw that outside for us?" I mean, so all things happen. You never know. But yeah, that happens too. So bar wrestling, yeah, I know all about that. Bowling alley wrestling, when they put up a show, that happens too.
Well, bar was a promotion, and
I took you for literal, like actual.
No, it was actually. I mean, it was in a bar theoretically.
I stand down. Sorry,
but no, you're fine. I mean, because I was gonna go with like Harley Race and the Skidmore Bully out in Skidmore, Missouri, and that because it's a famous story and what actually ended up Harley Race training with the Zabisco brothers. Yes, yeah. So I don't know if you know it, but the Skidmore Bully, this was a guy in like Missouri. I guess like I forget, maybe Skidmore, Missouri.
I'm not familiar. I've been through misery, but that's beside the point.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, Missouri was a fun person. No. Anyway, that sounds like a rat almost, like Missouri. Like never mind.
You know what? Write it down for a note, and maybe we can come back and write a song together. That's fine.
Yeah, I think so. Let's do that because you have a lot more musical acumen than I do. But I mean, literally, I forget what publication they talked about the Skidmore Bully, and obviously this was like 50s, right? Harley Race was a young, spry man and left on his farm, to kind of tend when his parents and the rest of the family moved elsewhere. And he just stayed on his farm at the ripe old age of, I think, 14, 15, something like that. But the Skidmore Bully was a guy who gained national attention because he was a big burly guy, and he used to wait at the end of the bar for all of the Social Security people to get their Social Security monthly check, and he would punch them and steal the check at the time when your Social Security check was actually a fucking check. So,
yeah.
And he cashed them, whatever. So Harley Race at 15 years old said, I don't think you're fucking doing that right now. And again, I can't give Harley Race's gruff the justice that it so rightly deserved. But that if you've heard a Harley Race promo, you know what I'm talking about.
But you know what? That's a righteous move. I mean, I personally had no idea about the King Harley Race being at 15. What do you want to call him? A Shylock to a Shylock, if you will. But that's awesome. That's a very righteous attitude to have, to say, you know what, I'm going to put a stop to this guy. He's hurting the community and the people. Maybe that's why we know of Harley Race today, because of that one independent, selfless act that he took upon himself as a man, as a young boy, to become a man. Maybe that's why we know of Harley Race.
Yeah. Oh gosh. And
you ever think about stuff like that? Like, how did Mr. Woods come to be? We would mention why you wanted to do this podcast. I guess everybody, it's because COVID.
Well, to your kind of respect, I mean, 200 plus episodes since July.
Oh no, never mind. Yeah. You are far, far beyond the I'm bored and have nothing to do now and want to do something. You're running and gunning, my man. That's great. 200 episodes. I was just watching one of your episodes right before live. I was surprised. I was like, wow, you're working 2 or 3 of these interviews a day. Yeah, am I correct?
Well, today that has been the case. I mean, I had my good friend Eddie Torres of the Rock and Roll Beer Guy podcast, and
that's who I was watching. Yeah, he was like, very entertaining. I like
his podcast. I'm like, yeah, and then I got the same message, and I was like driving, and I pulled over, and I was like, again, if Avil Graves fucking says he wants to do the fucking podcast. That's the shit I'm moving heaven and earth. So I literally fucking stopped there, put it in the fucking Google machine, put it through the app, got a picture from your Facebook, posted it and whatever, and voila! And
Here
then
we are.
yeah, and then later tonight, the keyboard Eddie Law of the Keyboard Warriors MMA podcast will be on also, and he's the one who turned me on to this little device called StreamYard. So again, when people that I care about say I want to be on your podcast, that's how we get to 200 fucking episodes, because I never fucking say no, and I respect everybody and the fact that you guys are gracing me with your presence and we're getting to document this shit. It's just like, again, we were showing that all of the craziness that is going on, and hopefully nobody's health is in a precarious way, financials are a precarious way, or whatever. But aside from that, we're gonna fucking have fun, and that's what we're gonna do, and we're gonna do it together. That's it.
And that's exactly what I was just saying. This strangers helping strangers, if nothing else, in a modern time of where it's all going back. We're using technology for the right reasons, for communications, transporting thoughts, ideas, goods, and services back and forth across wider variety of people that we would, under normal circumstances, never get a chance to. And I know, all things considered, I sometimes, what do I know as far as who would want to interview me? I don't deserve an interview, but again, it's because I've just stayed humble my life. I'm not a real jerk. We just play one on TV, don't we? But it's for ratings and money. Let's face it. We all know that. No, but what's real is real. And, whether it's a conversation between two outstanding gentlemen such as ourselves, or a fluff piece on Mrs. Jones' bakery cookie sales, whatever it happens to be, I think this is great as far as you having me on the show. I very much appreciate it. I get to plug a few things with your absolutely. So you had mentioned my wrestling career, and I had mentioned at the beginning of the show that I have no prior knowledge to any questions you would ask. So I'm going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to say you get 3 questions. You can ask me any 3 questions pertaining to my wrestling career, not counting the first one about, because we kind of went sideways and we started going all off as it is. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to follow what the fuck I'm trying to say anyway, but you get 3 questions to ask me right here, right now, before I start talking about something entirely different.
Excellent. So
go right ahead, Mr. Woods.
Favorite venue that you've wrestled in?
Favorite venue that I wrestled in? Probably, well, it's got a near and dear little spot in my heart. Very first place that I ever wrestled was the Meriden Independence Club. It was for Assault Championship Wrestling, Jason Knight's promotion. It had a upstairs and a downstairs. Downstairs was below ground, and it was a bar. And the inside held about 300 or so people, of which we packed all the time and had standing room only at times. So it was very nice, had mirrors along the walls, made the venue look a lot bigger on camera than it really was. It was a beautiful place for what it was worth. A lot of good memories. And again, I've had first couple matches there, sanctioned matches, 2000, 2001. If memory serves me correct, 2001, February 2001. Yeah, something like that. So that was probably my favorite venue that I've wrestled in. I've been to a few hotels where I looked up at the ceiling and for a moment turned my head and questioned and went, I've wrestled here before. And then I stop and I look around and I'm at a tattoo convention and I went, I've been to this hotel before, shit like that. So, I mean, usually in the New England area, Northeast, but up and down the East Coast, a bar room's a bar room, a bingo hall's a bingo hall. It's about whether you had fun or not. And I usually remember the things that I have fun, and I try to have fun all the time. But yeah, the Meriden Independence Club, that would be the most memorable because it was my first.
Oh, and you can't have a first twice, right?
You're right. It's not the same. Never is. Even you try to reclaim it or reconnect, it's just not it's not the same. There's a purity to something. That's the first, right? Hold on. You smell that? You smell that?
You try not to desecrate the first. Just saying. Now, I'm a belt mark. You saw the aforementioned replica of the 10 pounds of gold. I've got
Yeah.
Brooke Maya's first. This is actually the first
It's
female
so
bantam.
shiny. I can't even see it. It's burning.
I know, but this is the first women's amateur MMA bantamweight championship won by Brooke Mayo on Chris Cyborg's show.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
yes, absolutely. So, this is a piece of history. You, good sir, right behind you, have a belt. What is that? And that is one of the most unique designs that I've ever seen.
Well, hold on. Let's see if I can get it down without destroying the rest of the shelf here.
Dun dun dun.
I have to get up. Hang on 1 second. Bear with me. You get to see my ass.
So basically, Avil Graves has turned into a Instagram ass selfie model. That has just happened. Talk about transcendence here. That's what we do here at According to Woods.
Let's do this right, my friend. Let's do this right. So yes, just recently, October 31st. Oh, hey, hold on. Is this your second question?
Yes, this is the second question.
All right, ask again so I know where to go.
So, what is that title?
What is this?
Now in your lap.
This title is the World Fighting Showcase No Holds Barred Championship title. October 31st in Princeton, West Virginia, I took on Jeff James for this title. And let me tell you right now, it's in my hands, so what does that tell you?
You are the champion.
I am the champion, sir, yes. Not a bad little deal. The World Fighting Showcase No Holds Barred Championship title. Now, it didn't come easy, trust me. It didn't come easy. Jeff James is a hell of a competitor, and I want to go out there and thank him. We had a chance to appreciate each other's style after the match. We talked a little bit, and he congratulated me himself. So he's a hell of a competitor as well. And now, having said this title, since you brought it up, this is my title. This isn't the World Fighting Showcase's title. This is Avil Graves' title. Now, I'm telling you right now, Mr. Woods, and anybody else out there who's willing to listen to me, which you'd better be, if you want this title, if you want to take a chance at even looking at it, putting your greasy fingers all over it like I do mine, okay, I will be here for anyone to challenge me, but you've got to ask me nicely. Anybody in the World Fighting Showcase, contracted or otherwise, who comes up and asks the boss, hell, if the boss himself wants to challenge me for it, maybe I'll oblige. Of course, at that point, it's up to the bookers at that point. Okay, but capable, I'm ready. Available, absolutely. The champion, consummate.
And champ shit only is what Jesse Velasquez says.
Well, there's some truth to that too.
Damn right. And in terms of the Skidmore Bully, that's why you direct deposit. No one's stealing that shit.
PayPal, baby. Before I show up, I needs to get my retainer.
I'm just saying.
40% of the gate. 40% of the gate.
40% of the gate, and then you fucking put on your tights. Otherwise, you're Ultimate Warrior the whole fucking show. Anyway.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, my God. Unprofessional. Huh, you know what? You've just triggered something in me I said triggered now. You said the Ultimate Warrior of the gate. Well, show's over. Show's over. He mentioned the Ultimate Warrior. Burn it down. We're fucked. Someone's got to pay more than.
I got one question. One more.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's a sweetheart of a deal. What is your favorite wrestling memory? And I even said it in a different tone. So there you go. I'm trying to win Avil Graves back.
My favorite wrestling memory. There's a lot. I mean, my personal that I was experienced for, or me watching one. I mean, my favorite memory. I've got so many that I probably shouldn't say. I've got too many to pick. I mean, there's someone's coming to my mind. In the ring, in a hotel room, in a locker room. So many memories. I could tell you stories about. I could drop names. I don't want to, but all right, hell, I'll drop one. So I'm in a hotel room in Tennessee. I'm probably about 19 or 20, very young. I was part of a tag team at the time. with my very first tag team partner, Del Tsunami, the Brazilian shooter, Del Tsunami. Now, at the time, I'm about 20, young kid. I know nothing, wet behind the ears, the whole night. Del's 36, 37 in his own right. Okay, so my age now. We're with Jason Knight at a hotel room. And let's see. Again, forgive me for name dropping anybody. That was not my intention. I said it, but he asked a story, so I'm going to tell it. Chris Adams was in the room, Hack, and New Jack. With Jason Knight. Well, they're Jason's friends, and these are technically like New Jack's kind of like one of my college professors, if you really want to look at it, along with a few other ex-ECW guys, but loved them. And I was a very, what's the word? I paid attention to these people when they talked, because they are and they were where I wanted to be or where I thought I could be going if I, just like any young person, hang around with those who've been and done, and you learn a thing or two. Again, I was humble. So I was allowed to be in the room. I shut the fuck up and I listened. So what are the memories? And now that I think about it, I actually have black and white film of it. Because at the time, I carried black and white film. Yes, no digital film. Okay. Del Tsunami is sitting on the bed next to New Jack, and New Jack is talking about everything, business and, personal, and just having a good time, and the drinks are flowing, and Jason's drinking, I'm drinking. Long story short, something happens where Del and New Jack start talking. So I'm looking at Del. Del was very tired. It was a long day. It was late at night. I don't blame Del for anything at all. But when Del was talking about possibly wanting to have a match with New Jack's ears perked up a little bit and looked over at him. And he's listening. And then I'll never forget what uttered out of Del's mouth. Because at first I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. But once he said it, I saw the look on Jack's face. And I knew it wasn't about to be anything good. Del had said, "Yeah, I would love to work with you someday." And I quote, "But I don't want to do any of that hardcore stuff." New Jack's face turned the way you would expect New Jack's face to turn when somebody offered him anything that he didn't like to hear, and starts lambasting and cussing out Del, talking about how you think all I can do is hardcore. You don't think I can out wrestle you, out maneuver you, outthink you. And he carries on and on and on. I'm not going to try to impersonate Jack right now, but them's the breaks. And then Jack pays me a compliment in the same instance, which I don't mind putting myself over here. He goes something along the lines of, "You better learn how to shut up and be respectful, not say anything, like your boy here." Looks at me, winks, goes, and then goes back to yelling at Del instantly like a light switch on and off. I had to walk Del back to the room and put him to sleep. We were so hammered and drunk, and that was, he had a bad night. He was just, oh man, fucking New Jack yelled at me, Yeah. And it's not something you want to go to bed with, realizing that the man in the next room over might come and murder you in your sleep. Yeah. Later that night, I get on an elevator, and guess who gets on the elevator? My new friend, Jack and Sam. Yes. You were coming up from the pool party. There was a pool at the bottom of the Hilton, from what I remember. Well, anyway, I got 2 cheeseburgers, right? He was ribbing me. He picked his nose and he wiped it on my burger. I says, "That's not mine. That's Jason's." So that's my memory. That's one of my fond memories that I never tell anybody, because what the fuck is the point, But these are some memories of being a young, very, very attentive youth and paying attention to people who have already been and done. And you know what the thing is? They're all just having fun. Everybody's having fun. It's a life well lived, and it's a business. It's a family. It's a family, and that's probably one of the things that I can take from that is, we're here to do what we do, and if we like it, we like it, and if we get noticed, then we make money, and that's even better, And you take your friends along for the ride, and you work with each other and make money together, hopefully, So. Yeah, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. That's a good memory.
I love it. And oh my gosh, I mean, you're talking when you mention hack, right? That's like the insider term. But what he's referring to and who he's referring to is the Sandman, right? And
Yeah.
the Chris Adams. Oh, that's Gentleman Chris Adams, one of the legends of world class championship wrestling.
Wrong, Chris Adams.
Oh, which
Different
Chris
Chris
Adams?
Adams. Yes.
Which Chris
There's
Adams?
another Chris Adams. You can look him up. You'll find him.
There.
Yes.
Oh, is this just like there's two Steve Regals?
Yes.
Right? Or it's
Yes.
Steven Regal.
Yes.
And
This is the WWF Chris Adams that didn't wrestle as Chris Adams. I'm going to leave that one up for everyone else to figure out.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
You go search it out. You figure it
All
out.
right. I'll put it in the
Again,
Google.
I don't feel like dropping names and everything else because,
No.
just because they were in the room doesn't mean they were actually part of the conversation.
Excellent. And also a statute of limitations. That's what we're gonna do too.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Being proper about things,
Yeah.
as it is. Mentioning the only reason why I brought up John Mahoney is because he was a friend of mine. We loved it. I care about him very much. He cared about me an awful lot. He always went out of his way to make you feel good. And that's the thing is, I think now I owe it to anybody else. Why you would have me on the show? Why would you want to interview me? Well, maybe I owe it to you because you're a wrestling fan, and without a wrestling fan, what the hell am I? Just some crazed pro wrestler that has absolutely no fucking sense, right? So
I'm glad for that. I mean, and the thing about it is being able, if this is your kind of outlier in society, to be crazed with no fucking sense, well, might as well pick a lane to get
Own it.
over it. I'm just saying.
yeah,
I'm just saying.
just own it. I mean, that's the only thing is that I can say. I've always, like I said, I've always said yes. I've always asked for more. Is there any more in life and in business? I've always been a team player. But when push comes to shove and faced with adversity, I get very upset. I get very angry. I get very stern. I get very mean. In fact, in the wrestling business, I like to joke, but understand that if you make a fool out of me or you don't take what you're supposed to be doing seriously, yes, I will grasp at the chance to go ahead and make something more out of what's happening right now. If I think that you are not taking your show seriously, I'll take over your show and we'll make this show even more serious, or it'll just be a bunch of chicanerous, debaucherous, good fun. And that's fine too. I like to live out loud. I have an opinion just like everybody. And yes, this mustache is real. I woke up in it. But hey, we don't cross me and expect that my kindness is weakness, because that would be a mistake.
That would definitely be a mistake. Now, I know you said 3 questions for me, but this is actually a good brother, #2sweet, one Everett Richard Osmer, who we thank for making this thing all possible. So thank you, Everett. But he asks you, Avil, what is your favorite wrestling move?
I'll break it down. I'll say professional wrestling maneuver. I'm fond of, and it's not because of Ric Flair. I'm fond of a figure 4. I am. I like a good leg lock. Anybody knows how to apply and make somebody tap to an ankle or a knee or a hip displacement is I think very. I mean, obviously learn how to choke, but if you can create pain compliance by snatching a leg and dropping him to the ground, that's always fun. Professional wrestling, I like to figure 4 as far as what it offered and the people who applied it. It always got a good, it's kind of like Bret Hart when he does his sharpshooter, or Sting when he does his Scorpion Deathlock, or Dean Malenko when he did the Texas Cloverleaf. They're all relative. A leg lock is a leg lock, and I've always appreciated people who can make somebody tap because of extreme pain. Lower extremity, lower torso specifically. Myself, I'm a head and shoulders. I attack the head and shoulders. Shh, don't tell anybody. So favorite professional wrestling move, I'd say debatably, but I'd have to go ahead and say a figure 4 has always been romantic of an idea in my way of thinking. Now, as far as a martial arts lock, maneuver, technique, whatever, I'm a fan of a standing armbar dropping down, or we call it Army Rangers call it a dead man's drop, where you have their arm turned up against your chest and you've got it locked by the shoulder. This hand down here at their shoulder, they're bent over at a 90-degree angle. You've got their arm right here. So you've got a nice little wrist that you can turn, lock that elbow. You can twist the wrist and push them straight down to take a chest bump, separating the shoulder and holding that elbow straight. It's very fun. It's very easy to get into. Somebody goes ahead and throws a cross or a jab, whatever. You get inside guard, okay? Hit them with that elbow to the chin, lift them up, wrap that arm around, grab that shoulder blade, and then twist up. You see what I've got? And then you just drop them straight down. So as far as legitimate move that a lot of people wind up slipping into, you can find that because people are sloppy or they overextend or they gave it to you. You can slip into these locks very easily if you know what you're doing. Hopefully, a perfect technique is never perfect on the street. But if you use your jiu-jitsu to attack them, not just defend against them, if you use your jiu-jitsu to attack, well, then, you can find it slips pretty easily. People bend their weight forward a lot. You can push on their head and neck. You can grab them by these fucking things right here and pull their face down. Whatever dirty trick you need to stop them from resisting. And add a little pain compliance. All martial arts. It's about pain compliance. You can't just. It's not like in the movies. Or I'm sorry, the old magazines where you grip somebody by the pressure point and they're like this. Yeah. No, you have to hit, strike, move, and come back in. You've got to hit these things and continue attacking and move. Otherwise, there's no pain compliance. There's no technique. Or there's no. Yeah, you need pain compliance in order to make any technique applicable. So, no, I think I said that right. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. And Jesse saying, "Yeah, the gentle art is not very gentle." And I
absolutely. No, he's right.
I threw up in my mouth.
Redirection is the word. Gentle art. Redirection is not necessarily gentle. You're right, Jesse.
Yeah, I threw up a little bit because I know the application and what it could do. Oh yeah, that's one of those Stu Hart in the dungeon.
Well, how do you get somebody to go to a next level? I mean, if in modernly, and again, I'm just pontificating about lots of different martial arts on the internet now. You go online, if you want to think martial arts isn't legit, you can find videos that say it's not. If you go online, and again, it's up to the practitioner, it's up to the bullshit artist, if you will. You can find videos that propagate great faith in classical traditional training and whatnot. No one art is superior. I firmly believe that you should cross-train for as long as possible in anything and everything, just so that you yourself as a practitioner become more knowledgeable, taking on the histories, taking on the mechanics as well. I think it's very important that as modern people now, if you're going to be a professional, and again, we're staying within the realm of fight sports, right, your mechanics need to be there. Your basics have to be there. Your footwork needs to be available and strong. You need to be able to showcase, your fighting to the world. You see what I did there? You need to be able to have strong basics in any art. And I'll go a step further as an instructor. I've been doing for a bunch of years now, and I'll continue to. For those of you out there, remember a basic blocking system from when you were a kid. Take that blocking system. Now turn that blocking system into a striking system and target available bodies. Target available points on the body. Use that as your boxing to start and re-educate yourself. Oh, I've got a black belt. Here's my blocking system. Blocks are useless. We've heard it all. All right, now attack with your blocks. Move forward, sidestep, don't step back. Circle around, of course, but now target the body. It's just a new way of thinking and training, and I use it for just about any black belt under any style of fighting to re-educate the self and reassure and reaffirm what they already know, and a brand new style of teaching. Not to mention those attacks, you got close quarters. I won't get in that involved. Pay me for a Patreon video, and I'll teach some more. How's that?
Ooh, which
now
I ask.
I got to say relevant, baby.
Let's plug you because I saw a interesting Blu-ray. I mean, top form Blu-ray disc that features you, good sir. I'm just saying.
Oh, would you be talking about The Worst of Avil Graves, almost
Yes.
available on Blu-ray. It's not available just yet, sir.
When can we have that?
Well, it was supposed to come out this year, but due to COVID and the slowing down of a lot of process and business, I would say hopefully by the beginning, maybe I'll have some advanced copies ready for Christmas. I would hope. I think that should be. It's possible. It's possible. We could have a couple of copies of something ready for Christmas. Again, everything I do is my own. It's kind of like all these other great businessmen. You got to start somewhere. You got to do in-house before you can get a warehouse built like Amazon. So I do it all by myself, and through the help of other companies and promotions that I find footage from past years. Everything on this Blu-ray is not online. I've got a very fortunate. I repeat again, extremely humbled and fortunate to have the ability to find my home movies, if you will, and be able to put them out on there, and maybe even propagate a little bit of finance from my past and my career. But that's not just to sit there and rest on my laurels. No, sir. I plan on taking that and moving forward and doing more, not just for myself as a business entrepreneur, but also for the fans, for the people out there that do love unique, new, and exciting fight sports, pro wrestling. Not just about me, but I like to take my friends along for the ride. As you say, I got stories. I could talk about everybody else, but these are my stories. So again, thank you for giving me the chance to go ahead and talk about this. This is a world exclusive. I've never actually brought this to the internet ever yet. You are the first to ever hear about this Blu-ray, The Worst of Avil Graves. In fact, we've got that many made so far. So not terribly many. I should charge $500 a piece for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Limited edition. I mean, that's exactly what the guys at Plastic Cell are doing. I paid a couple $100 for this Richard Pryor deal.
Oh my goodness. I want a Richard Pryor bottlehead. Are you kidding?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is the same guy that does the Joe Rogan kind of claymation deals, and he's done a series with like the Ninja Turtles and everything like that. But again, it's to do a limited run of things that increases the value infinitely.
Oh, absolutely. I've got a couple of things where one of three. I plan to never give them. I give them away to friends, or I've got two left still. But things like that, because life is irreplaceable, and I think some things should be irreplaceable in this day and age where everything seems to be accessible and thrown away and disposable. Some things are just irreplaceable. Like our hearts and our minds, sir.
But one thing that isn't replaceable at all, because there's only one Avil Graves.
God bless you.
Absolutely. But for those who want to follow the life and times of this such athlete, combat sports aficionado, where can they find you on social media?
Well, I'm very simple. I use Facebook, Avil Graves, Facebook, and YouTube. Avil Graves, one word, YouTube channel, however that is, www.youtube.com/user Avil Graves. I think that's how it goes. Or you can pay attention to the World Fighting Showcase organization. There are links, hopefully, on this channel. Mr. Woods is going to put those up. The World Fighting Showcase is main based out of Tennessee. They've got a long legacy of Memphis wrestlers. What am I trying to say? Just the level of professionalism in the indie market today, whether you're a fan, whether you're a smart fan, the smart, or whether you're just a casual fan. If you've never been to an indie show, go out and see it. And if you're in the area and you start hearing about a company that's running on a regular basis, doesn't matter what they are, go check them out. What I'm saying is have something to compare it to, because the World Fighting Showcase and the reason why world is, they're not just here in one town renting one space. This is a professional organization. They run in Japan. Yes, their tag team titles have been fought and defended in Japan. So I mean, when we say world, we have I'm contracted. It's not my company. They have a legitimate world officiate program.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really exciting for me to be at a ground level competitor over 20 years and not really ever wanting to go to deal with certain other aspects of higher level business. And I know some people would say I'm a fool for that, but there's something about grassroots that has always kept me sane and happy. And I like to be able to get myself into a starting position and watch a business, watch a company grow to great heights. Now, having said that, they've been around for a while. I lucked out. It just so happens to be. But Consummate Professionals, the World Fighting Showcase. So check them out as well.
Oh, as we will, and thank you to World Fighting Showcase for actually retweeting and reposting this very podcast. So thank you so much. But obviously, top tier talent like Avil Graves, that's what you get out of World Fighting Showcase. And dude, it has been an honor and a privilege to have you on, and I can't wait to see. I'm gonna drop in the DMs and grab me one of those obviously highly, like, I mean, the budget on that is fucking tremendous. But that Blu-ray, I have to have one. I absolutely have to have one.
I will gladly send you an autographed copy, sir, but I want that bobblehead.
Oh, dun, dun, dun. All right, we got a deal. But this has been According to Woods with Avil Graves, and if you guys haven't already done so, I mean, you guys should subscribe to not just Avil's podcast, but also this one here, right? You're subscribed, Avil. Right?
Oh, I am subscribed to According to Woods podcast, and I watch it live. In fact, your next show that you're going to do right after me, I'm going to pay attention and watch that too. This is, again, strangers helping strangers, brother. The more we know about each other, the better. And may I say thank you for doing your homework on me. I tried to do the same and get prepared for this before we had. I know it was last minute, but I had a lot of fun. And I know we could keep going and talking about all sorts of things. I'm sure there's other people I never mentioned but again, it was fun for me. But like I said, just remember, Mr. Woods, just because I am kind does not mean that I am weak. Don't mistake that for 1 second.
Not at all. But to be like Mr. Graves himself, you guys should subscribe to this podcast. I mean, I obviously am subscribed because it's not a foregone conclusion that I would subscribe to my own podcast. So there's that. But
can you do that?
Yes, you absolutely can.
You could vote for yourself. Of course, you should subscribe to yourself as well. Get your own notifications, let you know you're doing what you're doing.
Oh, yes, I annoy myself all the time. But again, don't take our word for it. I mean, here's NXT notable Zeta Zhang.
Hey, this is Zeta Zhang. Make sure you subscribe to According to Woods YouTube.